Wow. I was wondering, it's like we can, the Fed, the government can decide to create money to bail out banks and other businesses, or to finance weapons, innovation in the weapons industry and so on. People worry about reparations to African Americans from slave families. If you can define them, if you can do a 23andMe and say, all right, according to your 23andMe, you descended from a slave family, so we owe you $100,000 or $500,000 or whatever it was. Couldn't the Fed just create that money and give it to everybody? And if they did give it to everyone who descended from slaves in the United States, by just quote unquote printing the money, would it help? I mean, yes, money would help. There's no doubt about that. It's a practical reality. But would it change anything? Would racism go away? However you define that. Structural racism or racism, white supremacy, whatever it is. And I don't know how to define that. You define it any way you want. But would it change anything? Would it heal anything? I'm much more of the kind of thinking about the restorative justice angles, but that's so much harder to do because then you really have to give a shit. You have to care. You have to have compassion. You have to want to listen. You have to want to be concerned about other people's history and situation. As far as all the cultural appropriation and all that goes, I can't get there. I'm too old or something. I traveled too much as a kid. I just don't get it. It's all these layers of identity and the fear of saying the wrong thing all the time. I don't get the offense because we weren't offended, or I didn't think we were in the old days. Of course, I have surely experienced a kind of white privilege, white American privilege in my travels. I'm sure I've gotten away with more than maybe other people, but I've also known people, diplomats and workers and business people from around the world of any color that have done well, I don't know a person's experience unless they tell me to my face, or they write it in a book, Ta-Nehisi Coates or something, and you read it and you say, okay, I'm getting where the person's coming from. But I can't generalize or extrapolate that out. And when we get infected by the memes and culture wars and kind of en masse get on board with whatever, without really slowing down to think about it carefully, I think we make a lot of mistakes, and we're not really in control of our will in that kind of situation. We're just kind of caught up in an emotional reaction to things. I don't think that necessarily helps over the long term. But it's been a long time coming that some kind of restorative justice happen, and that we figure out this racism problem. And it's also interesting to note that there's a lot more people, brown people in the world than there are white people. And I would hate to be reduced to this mass of brownness that defined itself only in relationship to whiteness. Whatever that is, you define it for yourself. It's complicated. I'm trying to sort it out, but anyway, have a good day. Buliamti, out.